Alright, YouTube, it's time for another video. Driving around here at this suburbs of some of the town I'm visiting here, and not gonna lie, this shopping center, I mean, it looks like this place would have been vibrant as fuck like 20 years ago, maybe like the mid 2000s. Definitely, if it was, I don't know if it was around. I'm starting to get out in those sticks, but if it was like the late 90s, mid 2000s, maybe even early 2010s. Looks like there would be a lot more. Now it's just like there's like a post office branch. There's like a bunch of wax, a place to get your body waxed and your nails done and shit. It's like that's usually the sign of like a dying fucking shopping center. There is one restaurant that's still open behind me, but and it's a little bit past midnight, and it's on a Thursday, so I guess maybe some places stay open later. Thursday's the new Friday, if you know what I mean. But this is going to be a bit of a random hodgepodge rant, but I really want to continue on a little bit with the talking about how the wealthy are just never it seems really much that like once they never have to go down in lifestyle, and there are so many wealthy millionaire types who like need to be putting the fries in the fucking bag. And I'll zoom in for you a little brighter. And it's not even just like podcasters, although they're a huge part of it. My God. I mean, this is fucking like, it's a lot of business elites. It's a lot of people you see on cable news. It's a lot of people you see on TV in general, the movies, etc. Like all this shit is just not like, maybe it's just me finally reaching, I'm officially mid-30s, and it's like, maybe that's a point where you, like, your brain calcifies or something, and you just start to look at people, and you're like, you're not important, even if you have fucking $300 million net worth or $1 billion net worth. Like, you're not important. I just don't really care about your existence. I'm not going to root for you necessarily to fail, but you're not important, And that goes for me as well. I know I'm not fucking important either. I've made like 60 of these videos, and I feel like most people don't really give a fuck, or maybe the algorithm doesn't pick up on it. I don't really know. But I do like kind of see the writing on the wall a little bit. So maybe there's a smidge of hope here, where I do see a little bit of people starting to maybe move on past this like hyper internetification of fucking everything. And of course that heavily revolves around internet personalities finally drifting away and not needing so many and not being so important. But I could be full of shit. I don't know. I could be wrong on that one. But yeah, I really think that I really think there's just a lot of wealthy people who they have a lot of money, and a lot of them have probably done some illegal, shady fucking shit, and they're never held accountable for anything. And if they are held accountable, it's a slap on the fucking wrist. And I do think, a great example of this is like these Epstein people, the Epstein class, or whatever you want to call them. And yeah, it just makes you kind of wonder, like, all of these people who, we're starting to read about how they manipulate a lot of younger men into becoming very, very, like, anti-feminist and anti-whatever. SJW was like the term 15 years ago now, 10 years ago. And look, some of the times, some of that shit was getting a little excessive in like the early to mid 2010s. But like, you also have to look at it and be, it's like, they kind of manipulated all these younger men, I've gotten angry at leftists, and sometimes they get a little over the top with the whole "that's just a social construct" nonsense, which it is over the top and kind of stupid. But for the most part, the left is getting it way more correct than the right. It's so funny because there's so many people who want to be influencers, and I think there's like a weird pipeline of wanting to be an influencer at anything. any hobby you can name, wanting to be an influencer at it. For men like myself, I came from like a video games, I spent a lot of time doing like retro video game stuff throughout the 2010s. When I got my first job in, God, that would have been about 2009-ish, I think. When I got my first job, I remember I spent my first paycheck, it was like $185 or something, and I spent it all on like retro video game shit. And some of that stuff's actually valuable now. I have a couple of Super Nintendo games and stuff. But what is this rando dude just fucking parking his car right here? Oh, he's the owner. He's probably the owner of that. There's like a Chinese restaurant right next to me. But well, I wonder if it's like a late night Chinese. Maybe I should get some late night Chinese. He's opening the door. No, he's locking the door. Okay. No, he's opening it. Go in there, ask for a fried rice or something. No, I'm fucking around. But yeah, I mean, it's like you see it with like where was it going with this? I was buying all these like retro video games, and like I see a lot of people in the retro video game sphere, like over time, the ones that I used to watch, and a lot of them have drifted off. They got really sour as people. They got really bitter and sour, and to the point of like you almost kind of felt like they were becoming just like a bitter MAGA dude. You know what I mean? And I think that that's really what it comes down to. I think there's a lot of just like people who have failed in life. I think there's a lot of wannabe influencers who failed, um, and became bitter. And I think actually that's what fuels a lot of this shit. I think so much of this shit is just manipulation based on internet algorithms. Um, And I mean, we kind of have a little bit of evidence of this now, where there's a lot of people in the right wing that or at least in these like Epstein files that have talked about how like Epstein was like using like World of Warcraft to chat rooms and stuff and to radicalize young men. And you have to look back on that time period of that late. I'm pretty much probably the age of those people. 15 years. The most relevant like early 20 something influencers of today. 10 years ago when this shit was starting, they were what 10, 11 years old. So they're not talking about them. They're talking about people who are probably like a tad younger than me or maybe exactly my age. And I have to think about that. Like 10 years ago, 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago, I wasn't playing World of Warcraft that much, but like I knew people who would play that game for 10 hours a day. And you have to, it's funny you look at it. It's like these people complain about like why their life sucks. And the funny thing about it is, well, your life sucks because you played World of Warcraft for 10 hours a day. And then a lot of people, the people who didn't do that did something with their life. And if I hate to say it, but like, I think there's one thing that our society really did kind of neglect men on is, as we started getting past even 18 years old, yeah, we're legally an adult, but I do think we need a little bit more guidance on how much internet consumption we were doing back then. While women, on the other hand, I mean, most of the women I knew, their social lives were just way more robust than mine. Now, that's partially because they're probably more attractive than me, and I think, women get invited to shit, and, I've never gone to a party where there's like, oh, there's too many women here. Said no man ever. But like you'll go to, but like there's times when it's like a party and it's like, oh, it's only dudes. And you're like, oh, well, you're not going to meet a girl. And it doesn't mean you can't socialize and be friendly and make a new friend, but you kind of want to go like, where are you supposed to meet these single women? And a lot of these single women, they just, they had a more robust social life, and they didn't have the time to play World of Warcraft 10 hours a day. And now, we're paying the consequence of this stuff. But the real issue is though the amount of internet consumption that our society is doing is just insane. And there's a lot of fucking wealthy elites that they don't want to give up. I mean, if there's one good thing the internet's done is it's centralized a lot of information. You have to sift through a lot of bullshit. But if you do that, you can actually learn some stuff. And if you're willing to discipline yourself and not switch over to music or switch over to, stupid videos, but actually use it to teach yourself mathematics or actually use it to teach yourself history or a foreign language, I mean, the internet's the best thing ever for that too. It's so much slop and so much bitterness. This has been a little bit of off the cuff. I'm sorry, this is not the most, but I always like to record these videos when I'm on these like trips out in the world. At least I'm, basically what I do now is take a few extra, take a few days of PTO. I am fortunate my job still has like a decent amount of PTO, and I haven't been terminated to AI yet. We'll see how much longer I last. If I can pull off another 3 to 4 years, I'll be happy. I'm just trying to stockpile as much cash as I can while flying to various parts of the country that are fairly cheap. I went to Detroit last year. Went to Miami, and I kind of want to see I've always wanted to go to like a Milwaukee or like a Green Bay, but it's cold as fuck. It's March, so I'm guessing it's still cold there. Pretty cold where I'm at right now in North Carolina too. But I like driving around. This trip got a lot more expensive because gas prices are fucking through the roof, but that's okay. So yeah, a bit of an off the cuff random rant as I'm driving around. But and I do like this town. It's just not much of a nightlife, and I do see a lot of older people. I mean, I'm in my 30s now, so I guess I can't talk, but it is what it is. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who are very wealthy who need to be brought down a few pegs in life. I'm sorry. They're not relevant anymore. It's celebrity culture, influencer culture. We need to have a reset of what we value. Like, there was this grand conspiracy during COVID about the whole Great Reset or whatever, and it's kind of a right-wing slop conspiracy, um but if there needs to be a reset of anything, it's really what we value as a society. We need to have a more physical-based good society, whether it's the the production of said goods, um, the marketing, the repair, the the upgrading, whatever. It's just the service-based economy can't last any much longer. I mean, everything's subscriptions now. I've deleted so many subscriptions. I do have Netflix right now. I was watching the live action One Piece uh, in the hotel room. It's pretty good actually. But yeah, we need a reset. We need to have an actual economy that's based on local areas. One thing I always look for when I'm on these these kind of like suburb based excursions around the country, mostly the eastern half of the U.S., although I've gone to a few places out west. One of the things I always look for is I look for do they have does the malls that I walk through, do they have like bookstores still? Do they have, or is it all just like weird off-brand clothing shops? And it's like that's the only thing that's left. It's just like food and clothing. And it's partially because people want to try on clothing and you obviously have to eat your food. But gone are the days of there's just so much more, it's just so much more limited in what you see in the outside world. And the internet really ruined a lot of this shit. So much. It's really sad to see. I mean, I can just tell this shopping center I'm in right now. I look at it. There's a Chinese restaurant. There's a Jason's Deli. A couple of shoe stores. Baby's clothing store. That's interesting. You don't see a lot of baby specific clothing stores anymore. There's like a novelty marketplace. Looks like it's like Korean market or something. I don't know. And then there's a post office branch, and it's like, ugh, a post office branch, really? It's like, that's the other thing. When you walk into malls and you see like Planet Fitnesses and like Navy recruitment centers, and they still have like a couple of key shops and stuff, but it's like, that's when you know your mall's dead, when it's like weird things like that. Like a mall's supposed to be stores that are physical items, not like service distributions and recruitments and stuff. This is fucking bizarre. I just can't stand the physical, the lack of a physical based goods economy. If there is one thing we need to recover and revive, It's the actual ownership of things and pursuing, things that are fun. And I'm sorry, like, how much fun can we have just everything being stored as, electrons in our fucking phones or whatever they are? Oh, I got 14 terabytes of pictures of whatever and videos of, you can go the wrong, your mind can wander in the wrong direction for what I just said there. But it's like, yeah, I mean, these are just, megabytes or gigabytes of data. It's like, I don't know. I kind of miss the days of physical books, physical video games. I was at the very end. I kind of saw the last days of that, and I miss it. But I do think this town's pretty cool. I might go over to drive over to that Harrah's Cherokee Casino. It's about an hour and a half away, and watch the March Madness games tomorrow. That might be fun. I don't know. Anyway, a little random rant, but yeah, to summarize this shit, there's a lot of wealthy people who are never held accountable for anything. Tired of it. And we need to bring back physical media. Anyway, sorry for a little bit. I'll have a more structured rant, but I always like to record these while I'm out in the wilderness. Just my thoughts and I'm out.